Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. We're back with a new format. The goal of this format is to run a DCA into three assets. These three assets are cash, Bitcoin, and the S&P 500. For this format, I looked for a way to maintain a DCA that works, something I could stick with long term, and also using small amounts without getting eaten by fees. That's why we're doing this DCA on the Gnosis blockchain. It's a bit under the radar, but has the huge advantage of having very low fees. So I'm going to explain how we'll acquire these assets. First, for the S&P 500. We're going to use products from Backed Finance. It's a Swiss company that tokenizes a wide range of assets. They tokenize the S&P 500, Nvidia, Tesla. There's quite a few things you can buy with them. The cool thing is you can receive these assets directly into your decentralized finance wallet. Obviously, I still think it makes more sense to buy your S&P 500 through a traditional broker, but here the advantage is that you can buy it in small chunks, like $20, without paying high fees. And it also lets me group all the assets from the DCA into one wallet. So how does it work? The company owns shares of the S&P 500, and for each share it owns, it issues a corresponding token on the blockchain. So it works a bit like a stablecoin, a 1-to-1 ratio. The company holds actual shares of the S&P 500 and issues a kind of ownership right over those shares, but on-chain. Of course, the limitation here is that there's an intermediary, but for the sake of this DCA, we're accepting that risk. One quick note, I suggest you follow these types of companies on Twitter. It helps you stay updated, see if there are any issues or FUD. If investors start worrying about something, you'll know. It gives you a sense of what's going on. The second asset is Bitcoin, and we'll be using WBTC, which is a wrapped version of BTC issued on blockchains like Ethereum. You can get it on many blockchains. In our case, we'll get it on Gnosis. If you're a Bitcoin purist, this might make you cringe. And I do think most people should hold their Bitcoin directly. Personally, I'll probably convert my WBTC to real BTC every quarter. It's fun to have all assets in one wallet for this DCA, but we also need to make financially responsible decisions. WBTC is convenient, but it's not real Bitcoin. And just like stablecoins or backed finance tokens, WBTC works because the issuing company holds real BTC. And for each Bitcoin they hold, they issue a corresponding wrapped token. So again, it's a kind of on-chain proof of ownership over BTC. Finally, for the cash part, we'll use USDC, the dollar stablecoin issued by Circle. We'll deposit it into the RMM platform from Realty, the real money market. You probably know Realty. They tokenize real estate, but also other types of assets. They've built a marketplace where you can deposit properties and borrow against them.
And the advantage is that there's generally strong demand for stablecoins on these platforms, so the interest rates for lenders are often high, since borrowers need those stablecoins to acquire properties. Right now, the rate is a bit low, 7.46%, which isn't huge, but it still allows our cash to generate a yield above inflation. So all in all, we're going to track the performance of this little portfolio here. What's interesting, aside from the chance to talk regularly about the S&P 500, Bitcoin, and inflation, is that we'll be able to evaluate if this portfolio performs well. I think it's a smart setup. You have productive cash, productive Bitcoin, and a productive S&P 500. It could be a good way to build a portfolio in the DeFi ecosystem. And around this format, I'll also show you how to move from one blockchain to another, how to convert WBTC into real BTC, how to use tools to spend your yield with DeFi-connected credit cards, so there's lots to explore. For now, we're going to execute the DCA. You can see I already started with $20 in each asset yesterday. Since it's Friday, we'll add another $20 to each one. This will be a weekly series. I'll try to maintain this Friday DCA rhythm with you. To acquire these assets, we'll go on Chaos Swap, which is a decentralized exchange platform. What's great is that you can buy backed finance products there. Here's the S&P 500. So let's put in $20 for the S&P 500. Done. Chaos Swap is an aggregator, meaning when you place a trade, it launches a kind of competition to find the provider offering the best price, and it gives you that price. Now let's buy some WBTC. Same thing, we'll put in $20. Good. And finally, we'll deposit $20 into this decentralized bank. Done. We now have $40 earning 7.48%. Now the question is, will these $40 outperform the capital we placed into BTC and the S&P 500? To find out, we'll update the spreadsheet. Here's where we stand today. The cash is doing its job, and we should start seeing steady growth next week. The S&P 500 is down a bit. Bitcoin is also down, but starting to recover. Of course, at this stage, the numbers don't mean much. The interesting part will be tracking this over the long term. If you have questions about any of the tools I used, don't hesitate to ask. I'm here for that. And I'll see you next Friday to continue the journey. For now, cash is king. We'll see if that continues.